Now, back to Access Tech Live.
Now, the Paralympics have grown in size considerably this year, as Mark was saying just before the break. You know, we are talking about 23 events happening, 561 events happening with 23 sports. I mean, it's an incredible amount of numbers flying around here. And, of course, an amazing number of people from around the world as well. The whole thing, though, wraps up on Sunday in Paris, Mark.
Yeah, so what's changed in the Paralympics since their inception in 1960? Well, Victoria Nolan is a multi-talented four-time Paralympian and the most experienced member of the Canadians' power rowing team. Plus, she's an author, a former TV host, a wife, a mother, and a national manager for the CNIB, and we caught up with her.
Victoria Nolan, welcome to Access Tech Live.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So first off, let me ask you, what got you into the world of Paralympics then? How did you get started?
Oh my gosh, it's such a weird story because I didn't start off thinking I was going to get into the Paralympics. I actually was looking for a sport to do that would motivate me to get out of the house because I was going through a rough time where I was literally afraid to leave the house. So when I found rowing, it just kind of snowballed into like, loved the sport, couldn't get me off the water, then started competing locally, and then that grew into provincially, and then it just kept going. I guess I got the competitive bug.
Now, you've competed at the highest level in multiple games, including the most recently in 2020. So how's that experience of the Paralympics evolved over the years, both either as an athlete or just the competition itself for you?
Wow. Well, especially for the sport of rowing. Rowing was just introduced as a Paralympic sport when I started. So 2008 was the first time that it appeared in the Paralympic Games. So the competition has definitely increased over the years. So now after having been to 4 games, I can tell you that it is very intense. The level of the athletes that are competing now are, the competition is much higher than it was when I first started. So it's developed a lot that way. Myself as an athlete as well, when I started, I had never been a competitive athlete. It was all new to me. And so that learning curve of just like how much I had to push my body every day and learning how to deal with the recovery and, getting out into the water 3 times a day. And it was a lot. So, by the time I got to competing in Tokyo in 2021, I was a lot more, obviously, a seasoned veteran as an athlete. And it was less about, dealing with that fatigue and recovery and more about strategy and competition. So, yeah, it was quite a change over the years.
And like you say, Victoria, a lot has changed in the Games, especially when you go back to the beginnings in 1960. But, I think about a sport like yours, rowing. I don't automatically marry up technology and rowing, but I guess it has a role to play, right?
Absolutely, in so many different ways. When I think back to 2008, we didn't even have, the cell phones and the laptops to the extent that we do now. So communication with family and friends was tough. I remember, waiting for the computer in the hotel lobby, waiting for your turn at that. So just, from a communication standpoint, it's changed a lot, but also for getting data. So I would train on a rowing machine and there's a screen that gives you, your splits, how fast you're going. And so over the years, it's become much easier for me to access that information. Whereas, when I first started training, I just had to go more on feeling and getting input from other people. So I became a lot more independent as the technology improved.
Now, I have to ask you a question, and I'm not going to hold you to it. You don't have to answer for the entire Paralympic community and para-athlete community. But in your experience, what are some of the most significant advancements in technology that's been introduced in the Paralympic Games? And do you think they've leveled the playing field for athletes?
Absolutely. What I was just explaining about, being able to get that feedback, real-time feedback. There was a period where you would be able to get the feedback, but once you were finished the workout, and now it's like you can put on, your AirPods and get feedback as you're doing the workout. So that's huge. And also, I think just with your, your fitness stats, your heart rate, all of that stuff is way more accessible now.
And I want to pick up on something you said there about independence, because You know, when I think about the role technology can play in something like the Paralympics, for athletes, of course, for competing, there's lots of benefits. But there's a social side to the Paralympics as well, right? You're meeting people from all over the world, getting a chance to speak to people who speak different languages. Technology can break that barrier, of course. We talk about that all the time on Access Tech Live. So, you know, the potential here is huge for you to not only compete, but also socially connect with lots of people, even after you go home.
Absolutely. And I think especially for athletes who are blind or have low vision, reaching out to those athletes from around the world isn't always easy, right? You can't always, locate them and go have a conversation. But if you can connect with them through social media, you have a lot more access to them and as well to information, right? And finding out how do other athletes overcome these barriers or what are their strategies. So yeah, it definitely opened up the world for learning more about your sport.
And I think also exposure, too, if we think about it. If you look at the current Paralympic Games, which are ending just this weekend, the access to coverage and the analytics and data that us as consumers can dive into, I think helps us almost sensitize us a little bit to, what it's like to be an athlete. Do you feel that, people who are, spectators are getting a little bit more information than they would have in the past?
Absolutely. And I think that's always been a challenge for the Paralympics is the coverage is never quite the same as the Olympics. And so, being able to live stream and having your own accounts to share your information is definitely helped with reach and with awareness about Paralympic sport.
Do you think the Games have a positive impact on disability and more generally, I guess, visibility of disabled people out there? It's always a question that comes up when the Paralympics come along, right?
I think that's a challenging question. I think it depends who you talk to. So for me personally, yes, I think it does do a lot for how people view disability. It shows what's possible. It breaks down barriers. I think what you have to be careful of is that that's not the only way to be successful as someone with a disability. I think sometimes people think that's, it's kind of binary. It's like you're kind of either a hero as an athlete or you're just kind of, trying to deal with your day-to-day life and it's miserable. So I don't like that dichotomy. But yeah, in general, I think it does help.
So, looking to the future of the Paralympic Games, and the trends that we're seeing now in tech and the innovations, is there anything that really excites you about how it shapes the experience for athletes in the coming years?
Yeah, of course, I'm excited to see how AI is going to play into this. And I don't know enough about technology to predict where that's going, but I do know how it's been helping me so far. Things like when I can, have a graph interpreted for me, or ask questions, about data that's there. I think about, too, when I used to have to get feedback from my coach, about how my body positioning was and kind of relying on that external feedback. But if you can get a photo or a video of your training and then ask the specific questions that you want to know, again, it's that independence, not having to rely on someone else. So that sounds like a pretty exciting road that we're going down.
And at a very basic level, for someone like myself who's not the most active, I'll just put that out there, and that's me being very mild about it. I would sit in this chair for 12 hours, maybe walk to my bed. And that alone could be enough, right? Maybe I could, if there was a Paralympic sport going for that, I'd probably win gold. But look, being serious about this, it's a great opportunity in the Paralympics, and the message, I guess, of the Paralympics and Paralympians themselves to say, you know what, getting out there, going for a gentle walk, even as someone who's blind, getting out, getting a walk, getting some exercise, it's good for your mental health. Use your Apple Watch to track your steps. And, going forward from that, track the steps the next day. And perhaps you've walked a little bit further and really use that technology to inspire people off the couch, off the sofa, at the very least.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think you're right. I think that's a great motivator for people. I mean, they're using these apps and, people have figured out how to reward people for getting out there and taking those steps and being active. So I think it is definitely a positive step for people to get more active.
But it works on the flip side as well, doesn't it? Because you get people who say, well, I see these Paralympians doing all this great stuff, and I think, God, all I'm doing is going for a walk. I can't possibly compete with them. It can work on the other side.
I guess so, yeah. But I mean, What I use an app now that I'm not competing and, training for like 6 hours a day, I'll use an app that I just record the bare minimum, right? Like, so I have to at least walk for 5K or, whatever it is. And that's keeping track of that. So, I mean, okay, I'm saying 5K, but whatever what's reasonable for you, walk around the block every day. And, if you get a streak of doing that, every day for a week, you feel good.
Victoria, this new generation of athletes are going to leverage technology in really cool ways that we don't even know. As you said, we can't predict the future when it comes to the technology and the AI. So what kind of advice would you give to, youngins who are looking to pursue their dreams in sports, whether they have a disability or not?
Honestly, I think that outreach is key. So being able to connect with other people who've done it before you so that you get all the information that you need, you get that motivation. I think that's the greatest part of this is having those connections. It's really hard to overcome hurdles on your own. But if you've got that community, then that's going to help you to move along. So reach out and get to know people.
As Mark said earlier, one of the things that we're looking at the moment is the future, the legacy of the Paris Games. And that's always the conversation we have around this time at the end of the Paralympics in particular. We look ahead to the next Games, which is great. But I think there's an opportunity here, not just to think about the Games themselves and the competing, but actually, in a way to use technology to help Paralympians and Olympians as well tell their stories. Talk about their journey, talk about the challenges they have, and use technology as a way to control the narrative. And the way that we do here at Access Tech Live, the way that you've done on your various AMI shows that you've been involved with, it's a great opportunity for you to tell your story in your words, which is really, really important because you'll have off days, you'll have difficult challenges, all that stuff. And, being able to tell people that, I think, actually in a way can inspire more people than perhaps the headline-grabbing inspiration porn we often get when the media get hold of us and our stories.
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad that you pointed that out. I think that's an excellent point. Yeah. And I mean, that's another benefit of technology is dealing with those really difficult times, whether, you've won a gold medal or you've been disappointed with your result. Athletes struggle with their own personal goals and challenges. And so being able to share those stories with each other and realize you're not alone and other people are struggling can really help you get through it.
Victoria, you are working on a book that's going to be coming out soon. No date announced yet. Can you tell us about the book and how technology kind of fits in?
Sure. So a friend of mine also has RP. We both have RP. And so we're writing a book that we are temporarily calling How to Be Blind. We've heard many times throughout our lives that no one wrote the book on how to be blind, so we are writing it. The book goes through what we're calling the 7 A's of how you deal with your diagnosis. So it's kind of a handbook for people who are newly diagnosed. We go through, acceptance and adaptation, accessibility. There's 7 of those A's to go through. But definitely technology comes into it as, a huge resource for people. As we've been talking about, to build that community so you learn from other people. Obviously, all the adaptations and accessible apps and things that can help you get on with your life and do the things that you want to do. We're hoping that it's going to bring all that information into one place. We know that a lot of people struggle with trying to get that information and seek it out. And often, if you're newly diagnosed, you don't necessarily want, the work of trying to find all that information. So if you've got this book on your shelf, maybe one day you'll just flip through it and get some inspiration.
Well, you'll have to come back and talk all about it when it's actually released so we can help you promote that. Victoria, Nolan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, guys.
And the Paralympic closing ceremony, September 8th this weekend. You tune into that. Coming up here on Access Tech Live, the Pixel Pro 9 XL. We're going to highlight some of the amazing AI features in Android 15. All that and more after a quick break. Stick around.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back.